Hey,
Hi.
I'm not sure if anybody else is going to show up because Dan just posted in chat and Kevin is. Oh, hey Gretchen. I think Kevin's out. So I was just saying, I'm not sure if anybody else is going to show today.
Yeah, I think Kevin is still out and Dan said he can't, so.
Yeah. I'll let you finish typing stuff out. No worries.
I had something that I wanted to bring up, by the way. So I was trying to go through the documentation to like set up the right permissions for Google Cloud, and I think the link to the article that is in the README is outdated. And I don't even know if it's relevant based on what you were saying, Rob, about how you might remove that tab for assigned pages. So I just wasn't sure like what you thought about that, what you guys thought about that. So
if that link does not work anymore, if you know of a good replacement link, that would be great. Because until we actually remove it, it's still like it'll be a part of the app that's broken for you locally if you don't know how to set it up. It's not too hard to set up if you've ever done anything with the Google API because you're just making a service account.
Yeah, I think I know how to set it up, but I'm not positive because I didn't go through the entire flow. But basically, once you get to the step where you basically define like when you try to get the service key, you can no longer select like whatever the default like option is. You actually have to explicitly create a new service and give like the person permissions. So it's a little more complicated than just choosing the default like cloud computing like role. Like that's no longer an option. At least for me, I don't know if it's because I'm on like a free tier or something.
Okay, it's not that the article is gone. It's that it's out of date with respect
to. The instructions are no longer relevant. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, Google changed the.
Yeah. And flow. I thought I could do owner for it. So yeah, maybe we can like, I'm sure there's another article we can swap out, but like, yeah, like the flow no longer really works that way, or at least it doesn't for me. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I didn't see like anything that would allow me to create that default like service key. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Google. Okay, cool. I just wrote that down and I'll make an issue about it. Or if you want to make an issue.
Yeah, sure. I can do it.
Yeah. That way it's trackable so somebody can get to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So in general, have we had one of these meetings since you got back, Gretchen?
Yeah, we had one.
Okay.
And I was like in the car and unable like.
All right. Yeah. Cool.
I think only one, maybe two.
Definitely not two.
Days run together. Okay, as far as my stuff, not a whole lot to report. It's amazing how working like 10 hours a week is not very much time at all to get things done. But as far as what's up next, or in progress and up next for all of these things actually, is finally like sending out rejection emails to the candidates for the software developer. I feel badly that we had to post externally, and then people spent their time to apply for a job they weren't going to get. And so anyway, finally, so I figured the least I could do was like actually write out like emails and not just like, just like say nothing. Anyway, so emailing those candidates and working on kind of, so we have a couple new analysts, and we've talked a little bit about doing kind of project-based, like as much as like, okay, everyone's going to monitor these domains, do some project-based work. And so thinking about how those, like figuring out, talking with the new folks about like what their interests are, and thinking about kind of projects, and then kind of trying to do some support work to make sure that those projects could actually get off the ground. That's it.
Cool. We changed the meeting time, right, to right after this, or well, in like 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So just FYI, Sarah, I think I might have told you before, the analyst meetings are at like the end of the day, like 5 o'clock. So they just got moved to 10 a.m. here Pacific time. So if you're ever interested in popping into those, that's when it is now. Let's see. For me, I don't think any major updates. I didn't get the big stuff I was hoping to get done, which was finally finishing stupid improvements to the Wayback Import script. I got it slightly farther, but mostly it's just a bunch of small things. Although the big parts are we finally successfully got everything worked out with the HTML5 parser. So now we're using a faster, better parser for diffs for HTML. But the installation process is painfully more complicated. Not super painfully, but like it's frustrating that it doesn't just work. You have to do special things because of how that module is built. And the other big piece of news, not for like wide disclosure, and even though this meeting is recorded, but like not to tweet about or anything yet because they're not super ready, but Wayback folks have publicly shipped the diffing tools. So they're using our differ not just like in the beta version of Wayback, but in the actual production version of Wayback. They don't feel very good about how it's working because they have it set up differently from us that makes the way their diffs work not nearly as great. There's two PRs they have in process to try and fix some of that stuff. But there's other things that also need fixing. But basically, it's live, which is awesome. But they've asked us not to like make a big deal about it or like tweet or do blog posts about it because they don't feel like it works great the way they have it set up, which is totally fair because it doesn't. It works okay. It highlights basically every link because they don't diff the raw content for some reason. They diff their like Waybackified one where all the links are changed to point to date relative Wayback URLs. So any link, any sub-resource, any image will necessarily get highlighted because the URL will be changed because it'll point to a different date in the archive instead of it being instead of the diff being over whatever the original URL was, which I'm not really sure why they do that, but that's how they have it set up. There's a PR in process by a GSOC student that adds sort of like special treatment for how URLs in resources get compared when doing the visual HTML diff, which would be a neat thing to have, but it needs a lot of improvement in terms of how it's implemented. So that's the news there. And otherwise nothing major for me because I have failed to get done the big things that I was hoping to get done. So those are updates. I don't know. I'm not really stuck on anything that I necessarily need help from anybody with. And I think, is there anything else you need besides what you asked about the Google Services key setup? Sarah?
I don't think so. I'm gonna start looking at that, like the issue removing like the versionista thing. Another thing I realized too is that like it'll probably require removing some like verbiage from like the readmes because I saw at least in the front end it was referring to like the versionista links, like there are diffs for those. So I'll go ahead in that PR and like remove that at least from the front end readme, but I don't know if like that's like strewn across the code base. So I don't know if you might like wanna, if you had any ideas of if there are other places where that needs to be removed, I can also remove that in the other repos.
In the other projects?
Yeah.
I don't think this should really affect anything in the other projects,
Okay.
mainly because we still have data from Versionista. It's just that we're not going to show that link in the UI anymore because it doesn't really work
Sure.
anymore.
Yeah.
So the degree to which we would have mentioned it in other projects, in READMEs or in the code bases, it's probably still applicable in
Okay.
those scenarios.
Right.
So I'm not too worried about that, but good catch. I didn't think about the fact that we might have mentioned it in the README, and so that would need changing also.
Yeah. I'll take another look just to see if it just says that there's a diff versus if there's like a link to the diff. And like if it's just saying the diff, then I can just keep it, right?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Yep.
I guess if there's not anything else, we can be done. So nice, quicker meetings the last few weeks. So cool. See you all around.
Awesome. See you in a bit.
See you.